Elio guys, and welcome back to another episode of Infinite Magicraid. In today's video we have another baby girl here, and her name's hopefully pronounced Santa, and she's also a legendary, so hopefully she's going to be pretty good. She is also an attacker type, which is a very big favorite for the Infinite Magicraid like developers, because we have the most of those guys, and she's also the red mark, so if you're having trouble in the red tower of mark especially, she could be quite helpful, because sadly I don't have her, but hopefully after this video you will be convinced that if you pulled her, you definitely lucked out. So let's go and take a look at these skills right here. So coming in with her basic attack called Wind Chain Shot, she deals 2 stages of 110% attack damage to a single enemy and self gains 5% of her turn meter. With this skill fully booked up though, it ends up turning up to 150% attack damage for 2 stages, so that's 300% attack damage. Very good as a legendary, and pretty much near the standard. It's a little bit lower than some legendaries, but considering that she also gets 5% of her turn meter, it's very obvious why, because that means basically attacking kind of helps her to get a little bit faster in the queue to attack once again. Coming in with her second skill called Fluid Combo, this skill unbooked does have a 4-turn cooldown, and it says that it deals 3 stages of 150% attack damage to a single enemy, and self gains a 30% crit damage bonus. It also increases the crit damage bonus of the next stage to 45% when this skill lands a crit. That is huge. So not only is she getting a additional crit damage bonus, which 30% isn't small at all, but it also gets bumped up by an extra 15% if she can kind of crit with this skill. So we're already kind of getting like our little thought process going of how we should build this character, meaning crit is obviously the way to go. If she's getting additional crit damage, there's literally no reason why you shouldn't have crit on her in the first place, because that just means higher damage with a lower attack stat anyways. But with this fully booked up though, that damage is increased to 180% times 3. Pretty chunky for a single target move, and it also gets reduced down to 3 turns. So wow, that is very, very fluid indeed. And then taking a look at her passive skill called Arrow Strike, so Santa's turn meter cannot be reduced. That already? Like I'm already done. I'm already done. So regardless of what units you guys may be using that can kind of like augment or change the way or the speed that a character can utilize. So say for instance like a unit like Reliant, where she can possibly, if her skill sticks on your character, can reduce her speed, making the opponent's turn come later than what it should. That's not going to work with Santa. So basically try and kill this baby girl. But anyways, she gains 1 layer of sharp arrow each time she lands a crit. Already, you need to have crit rate on this baby girl. You need to have crit rate. It increases her speed by 1%, and then it also boosts up her direct damage by 1%, and then sharp arrow can be stacked up to 10% layers. Once again, this is a typo. It should say 10 layers, which I would say that 10 layers is pretty normal at this point in time, because HAL 9000 can only, I believe, stack 10 layers of decode. Yoko can only stack 10 layers of her ability as well, but I want to say that Serena can have maybe 15 or 20 feathers, and it looks like with this added layer cap, that also spells bad news bears, because it looks like it increases this cap by a whopping 20. So she ends up with 30 layers, meaning 30% more speed and 30% more direct damage, combined with her second skill, which already boosts her crit damage, plus the extra 15% from her crit damage if she crits. It's just a whole bunch of crits, it's a whole bunch of crit damage, it's a whole bunch of speed, and it's a whole bunch of direct damage. Like, wow. So it does take time for her to kind of build this stuff up, but the longer the battle goes, the stronger she's going to get. And then to finish things off here, we do have her ultimate called Storm of Arrows, which has a 5-turn cooldown unbooked, and this increases her crit rate by 50% for 2 turns. Like, wow. Afterwards, it deals 3 stages of 80% attack damage to all enemies, so this is an AoE, and self gains a 30% crit damage bonus. I just don't understand. This skill has 25% more piercing rate against targets with less than 50% HP. So not only is she going to basically get more crit damage out on everyone because of her AoE and her already innate higher crit rate, because obviously you're going to be building her for some crit rate here, but if you have, your HP threshold is below 50%, 25% more piercing damage is pretty chunky, but with this skill fully booked up, it does bring her 3-stage AoE damage up to 95% per stage. So that's 95 times 3. Obviously, doing a little bit of simple math here, that's nearly 300. It's not 300, but 95 times 3, nearly 300. And then the active skill also gets reduced down to 4 turns. We haven't even got to her exclusive weapon yet, and already I'm just like, wow, I need to pull her ASAP, bro. But let's take a look at this exclusive weapon. So, Arrow of Grace, at level 1, the crit damage dealt by Sana has 25% more piercing rate. I mean, she already gets additional crit damage. Why not? For level 2, when chain shot doubles the increased turn meter if it lands a crit. I do believe that is her basic attack. So not only does she get the basic attack off, but her turn meter increases by 10% if she crits. At level 3, Storm of Arrows increases 50% crit rate for all allies for 2 turns. There isn't really any added effects to her skill, but in terms of like raw chunky damage, this is one of the baby girls already that is just automatically S tier, because her kit kind of synergizes around doing a whole bunch of damage. Kind of takes time to build up, but it makes sense because obviously you don't want to kind of start off the whole entire fight with doing your maximum damage and then kind of like dying afterwards. Though some characters are built like that, but wow, she is absolutely just bonkers. So let's go ahead and try her out. And as always, I'll have like an equipment recommendation and what you should be doing with artifacts. And keep in mind too that since she is an attacker type, obviously in terms of emblems, you should be focusing on the attack. And I could definitely see someone going more towards defense in this situation versus support, but I can't really remember all of the whole emblems like right off the top of my head. But I do know at the end of the attack emblems, there's like a chunky increase in crit damage, which she already synergizes well with. Wow, that is quick. And you can see her turn meter going up. Her second skill hits 3 times. And then for her ultimate, yeah, she is a quick, very quick girl. And that's capping out at 9 right now because obviously she's only level 1 with no exclusive weapon. But wow, yeah. Sana is definitely a unit that you want to have. I, without a doubt, will believe that she could carry you to hell with pretty much no problem at all. Especially if you can pull multiple copies of her, this baby girl will serve you well in campaign. And in terms of PvP, if you pair her up with other specially adept units like Vera, who not only boosts the crit rate of the party, which is what Sana does already, but also can apply stealth to her, wow, like things are just smiley face gaming at that point, because you have 2 units basically keeping up crit rate on the entire party. Meaning, once again, if you pair it up with Sia, for example, Sia, Sana, and also Vera, not only do you have that boost up in crit rate, but also to boost up in crit damage from both of those baby girls. And yeah, so Sana is definitely a very good unit. And thank you guys so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Make sure you guys join the Discord and the subreddit if you haven't yet. And yeah, that's pretty much it. See ya.